I grew up with a guy called Casper Lee. I go over to the UK to play cricket. Casper comes over to pursue a career in YouTube. My cricket career didn't get to the heights I wanted it to, so I ended up falling into making YouTube videos.
Talk to me about how big the Brit Crew were in its prime.
We were like being chased in Westfield by like hordes of people.
Who would you say was the most talented member? You were involved in pranking very high-profile individuals that went extremely viral.
Eddie Hearn asked the event organizers to move us to ringside. They were like, what's Ed Sheeran doing in the fourth row?
You then pivoted to documentaries, so is that pranking done for you then?
I guess as I got older, it was something I was like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Okay. Obviously did the Lily Phillips documentary. What was the motivation behind doing that?
I just think someone needed to actually tell the real story there of what was going on.
There's a really powerful scene at the end where she is crying to you on camera. Do you think she regretted doing it? Hello, welcome along to another episode of Inside the Industry Unfiltered with myself, Adam Smith. Delighted to have this man on the pod. We go back many years. I've not seen him in a long time. He is one of the OG YouTubers. He's an influencer. He's got his own production company, and I'm going to call him one of the best prankers I know. A proper pranker. It's Josh Pieters. Josh,
thank you.
How are you, my mate?
I'm great. You didn't have to call me an influencer. You could. There were so many things, and you chose to use influencer as one of your words.
You're not a fan of that word, are you?
Hey, no, I love influencers. I am an influencer. I'm just, I'm coming to terms with it.
Okay, fair enough. There is a lot to unpack with you. You're famous for some quite iconic videos that many of which have gone viral. So let's take it back to where you sort of started growing up.
Yeah.
South Africa. Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
So I was born in a town in South Africa called Knysna. Very pretty, lovely town. And cricket was my first love in life. So that's what I wanted to do. I grew up with a guy called Casper Lee, who's also a YouTuber. While I was playing cricket in Knysna, he was YouTubing. I was a part of his videos. But this was 2010. No one thought YouTube could become a career. We finished school. I go over to the UK to play cricket as an overseas professional. Casper comes over to the UK to pursue a career in YouTube. And as I hung out with YouTubers more and like my cricket career didn't quite get to the heights I wanted it to get to, I ended up falling into making YouTube videos. And that's sort of how I started.
There's quite a lot to unpack there. So first, you're a very modest guy. How good were you? How close were you to turning pro then? Because you came over here for cricket, right?
Yeah. So I played like the equivalent of county cricket in South Africa all through my age groups. So as I grew up, and then
bowler batter,
I was a left arm bowler, and I could bat a little bit. So I could hit the ball, but I'm 6'5", and I was a left arm fast bowler. And when I came to the UK, I was like an overseas professional for a club here, which was great, but also like gave me such a wake up to real life. Because I grew up in this town called Knysna, which is like a beautiful seaside town. Yeah. I just thought that's what the world was, basically. Like I'd traveled, but I'd been to London when I'd traveled to the UK. The cricket club I got placed at originally was in Stoke-on-Trent.
Right.
And I'd never seen anywhere like Stoke-on-Trent. So when
Shout out to all the viewers from Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah, and I've met some of like my favorite people there, and I'm still friends with a lot of the people I played cricket with there. But when I arrived, I was like in tears on the phone to my parents, like, I've made a huge mistake. I need to come home. And I played as an overseas professional there.
Obviously, I imagine you're very happy with the direction your career's gone in. But do you always, when you come that close, I've spoken to a lot of sports people in my time, when you come that close to achieving your dream, do you ever look back on with what ifs or any regrets about how close you were to being a pro cricketer?
Definitely, like, especially when you watch on TV, you always think like, oh, that would have been so cool. But I think I've realized as I've entered into like, I guess what was the second iteration of career for me, which was YouTube and what I do now, I don't think I had the correct mindset to be able to work hard enough
That's interesting.
at cricket. Yeah. And I've only realized that since sort of not achieving my goal in cricket and then starting this career, and how hard I've had to work now in this, and being like, oh, if I had that mindset when I was a teenager and playing cricket, maybe it would have been different. Because I just think like I had the talent and it was possible, but I think the guys who make it are so obsessed and they it's their mindset that sets them apart from everyone else.
It's a massive, the mental capacity and the mindset is huge.
And the self-belief as well, like that you have to have, I think, as a professional sportsman. It's not about what anyone else thinks. You have to know that you're good enough.
Yeah.
And like, especially cricket, it is a team sport, but it's kind of an individual team sport.
I know what you mean.
So, you know,
because you're judged solely on your, there are batting averages, bowling averages. You're judged individually.
Like if you're playing football, you can probably hide a bit if you have a bit of a bad game. But if you're playing cricket, as a batsman, you know, you're going to get fined out. Exactly. You're out and that's it. And as a bowler, it's just you everyone's looking at when you're bowling. Yeah. So if you're playing shit, like there's no hiding from it.
Well, it's an interesting way of looking at that. So your cricket career finished. You must be proud of what you achieved in cricket, but obviously you realise at that point it's not going to be a career. So then are you on the phone to tell me about how that works with Casper then? Because I love the fact, and I've worked with Casper before, that you both had successful YouTube careers, but you were mates before that. He was your best mate from very early on. So how influential was he in you becoming a YouTuber? Like how much do you owe to him, so to speak?
Oh, I would have never started YouTube if it wasn't for Casper.
Really?
So I was always interested in it, and he was making these weird videos while we were at home in South Africa, but it was like, there was no prospect of this becoming a career. It was just this thing Casper used to do, and I was in the videos and it was fun, but no one ever thought it could be a career. And then what happened was, it was actually in the second season I was in the UK playing cricket. I got glandular fever. Couldn't play the rest of the cricket season because I was just too sick to do so, and you were meant to rest for a certain amount of time. And then I was in the UK and I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? I was around the YouTubers all the time. So I was like, I'll start making YouTube videos.
Wow.
Originally, I was going to be going back to South Africa. By the time the summer was over, YouTube had started doing well enough for me to like rent a flat with some friends, did that. And then sort of 10 years later, here I am.
Wow. So do you feel like you sort of fell into YouTube then because of Casper?
Definitely. In the beginning, like I fell into that group of YouTubers. It was like Joe Sugg, Casper Lee, Connor Maynard, Jack Maynard, Ollie White, all these guys. And it was so fun. Like it was just friends hanging out, making videos. And the videos were super basic, but that was the thing that back then, it was still a novelty that people could film themselves and broadcast it to the world. Now, everyone has Instagram. So everyone...
It was a lot more raw then, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like this is, before Instagram stories or Snapchat or any of those things where you could constantly broadcast yourself, the novelty of being able to film yourself and anyone all over the world could watch it, that was still exciting for people. And so what we made wasn't groundbreaking. It was just new.
How talented are we talking about when you talk about Casper Lee?
How talented
is he?
You're setting me up here.
I'm not setting you up at all. No, because obviously he's gone on to have an amazing YouTube career, but he started businesses, he's investing. Like, just give us an insight as you know him as your best mate.
I think Casper's greatest talent is he has an incredible sense and eye for opportunity. He's like a true entrepreneur. Like he sees opportunity where others don't. He saw YouTube as a career path before anyone else saw that as a possibility. He then took his sort of influence from his YouTube world and set up creative-led businesses before anyone else did. And he's always just been able to identify opportunities and put himself in the best position to take advantage of those opportunities throughout his career. Look, I don't think it hurt that he was still is good looking, but when he was in his teenage years and early 20s, he was very good looking, blonde, South African boy, a twink, some have called him. So that definitely helped, but he was always very strategic with what he was doing.
I see that with him. Yeah.
He knew what would work on YouTube. He discovered that collaboration was a big part of growing a channel in the early days, especially of YouTube. And he's a trailblazer, and he showed that with his YouTube career, and he's showing that now with his business career.
Yeah, I totally agree. What was the reaction, I'm intrigued to know, by your family when you decided or you had that call? Because what's interesting about your journey there is you came over to England because of cricket, but you weren't emigrating full time. It was because of your love for sport. Your cricket career doesn't take off. You fall into YouTube. Do you then ring your parents and say, by the way, I'm not coming home to South Africa, I'm living in England and my career is going to be YouTube? Is that what happened? And if so, how did they react to all of that?
Yeah, it wasn't so sudden, it was like I started making a few videos and then I was messing around, and look, I was like 20 years old at the time. And I think my parents saw that it was just an incredible opportunity. So it wasn't like I decided, okay, I'm here now and I'm going to stay. It was like, oh, I could do this for another year and see what happens. And they were very supportive and were like, as long as you can support yourself, go for it.
That's amazing to have that, isn't it?
Yeah, very lucky to have that.
Has your relationship with your family always been that very supportive? Very close?
Very close with my family. I've got a big family and
are they still in South Africa?
Yeah.
How tough is that then? Is that challenging?
It was, especially when I first moved. Like, I used to get quite homesick, especially with sports. I always struggled with, there was a lot of traveling when I was in school and stuff, having to go away. And I never loved being away from home.
Yeah.
So in my first few years of playing cricket here, that was definitely a hard thing. Mm-hmm. But, I guess I grew up.
And you must miss parts of living in South Africa now. What's the biggest thing you miss? You're just going to say the weather. You're going to hammer the British weather here.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the lifestyle that I got to live in South Africa. It was amazing. Like, being able to just go swim in the sea and climb a mountain and play golf and do all of these things with really easy accessibility. Yeah. Whereas London has its different advantages, but it's they're different. There's different pros and different cons to London and South Africa, or to England and South Africa. And maybe one day I'll move back. I don't know. We'll see what's happening, but I'm in London for now.
Watch this space. I like it. You mentioned some of the Brit Crew there. Let's talk about, the names involved in that. Pretty incredible. Couldn't get my words out there. Alfie Days, Zoella, Joe Sugg, Casper Lee, Ollie White, Marcus Butler, Jim Chapman. The list goes on. Talk to me about how big the Brit Crew were in its prime, because you're talking about some incredible influences there. Yeah,
they were massive. I think they spearheaded an industry, certainly in the UK. They were the first YouTubers who I think started being able to make a pretty serious career out of making YouTube videos. And that's when the mainstream started to take notice, because all of a sudden these people were making money from making videos in their bedroom. And now everyone was like, well, wait, what's this? This can't be a real thing. Like, how does this work? And I was a bit later to the scene than those original guys. When I started was, I guess, like almost a generation after. But they were absolutely huge, and they still are, just because of the fact that they were the sort of first ones to do it.
And it's a similar question I asked with Casper. I suppose in a wider context, the Brit Crew was massive in terms of catapulting your career, because you were late to that. I remember that. They were filming, because they weren't an official group, were they? Uploading like Sidemen would do now on a channel. But you became a part of that at a time they were very successful. So that must have been hugely advantageous for your channel.
Yeah, it was like they were never a proper group that organized to make content together like the Sidemen have done now. It was more just friends that were hanging out with each other and doing the same thing as each other in a world where not many people were doing that. And they found each other and collaborated, obviously, and did a lot together. They were also all signed to Gleam, which was the management company, which I also got signed by. So I never actually collaborated that much with that whole group. We then sort of formed our own group off the back of that, which was Casper, Joe, Connor, myself, Ollie White, Jack Maynard. We had like a group spawned off that, and we were called the Buttercream Gang, which was a very weird name, but that's what we were called. So I think that like fostered my career a lot more. But obviously it all started with that original Brit Crew, and that's where sort of Joe and Casper came from.
Do you think, looking back at it from a strategy perspective, they should have had their own designated channel where they're uploading content like Beta Squad do, like Sidemen do? Or do you think at the time that was the best strategy, just to do collaborations?
I think it would have worked for sure. I guess it's about what people wanted. Like, I don't know if that's what those guys all would have wanted. Maybe they're happier in what they're doing now. Like, I think it would have led to a lot of success, but it takes a lot of commitment, and also you have to really enjoy every person in that group to be able to want to work with them day in, day out, and make it a sort of formalized operation.
It's interesting what you said in your first answer about the fact that a lot of people it was trailblazing in the sense that people weren't seeing YouTubers go into the mainstream at that point. Obviously, they all had successful YouTube careers, but they did go into the mainstream. They were doing tours. How famous were they in that time? Can you give us an insight of any moments you had in public where it just blew your mind to the level that they were operating at?
It was intense. I think no. And the crazy thing about it was now everyone's aware that YouTubers are very popular.
Yeah.
But back then people were kind of oblivious to it. And I remember being at Westfield with Joe and Casper. This was even before I'd started a YouTube channel, I think, or just before. And I remember we were like being chased in Westfield by like hordes of people, and we had to kind of like lose them. And, you know, we were in our early 20s. It was kind of like, oh my God, but it was also obviously exciting and like fun. It was, you know, what you see in movies and stuff. But that gave me like a pretty good idea of how crazy it was. Like it was a demographic thing, right? Anytime you were around people under the age of sort of 20 at that point, they kind of knew. And Joe and Casper had become it wasn't even about whether you watched their videos. It was like, these are these two guys who are super famous for YouTube in the UK. So it's like, it spreads, right? Like even though people might not have watched their videos, they've heard of them because, you know, you kind of, the bigger you are, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Intrigue thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember playing in I use the term lightly, but celebrity charity football match at Carrow Road.
You don't like referring to yourself as celebrity?
I don't know why some people must have dropped out because I was playing. But my point was, it was a real mix. Jim Chapman was playing. Yeah. This is where my point is going. It was at Carrow Road, Premier League Stadium. I think they sold... It was about 15,000 tickets sold. So, you know, a very good amount of people. Yeah. And there was actors, presenters, sports people, all sorts of celebrities from all walks of life and a lot of ex-sports people. Jim Chapman turned up. This would have been about, I would say, 8 years ago, something like roughly. And he got absolutely mobbed. And it was interesting what you said about how I don't think some of the people involved realised how big he was when he turned up, because a lot of the people involved in that maybe aren't the demographic of people that subscribe to the channel. But it was mind-blowing how, I mean, almost needed security levels to get in and out of the ground and stuff, of how famous he was. And it really, I suppose that was at a time when, like you were saying, it opened people's eyes to how big YouTube was at that stage and still is now. Yeah. It was incredible.
I think it's the difference between, you know, a celebrity and then someone who feels like they're your friend. And it was kind of the start of these parasocial relationships where viewers felt really connected to these YouTubers because they'd watch them every day and they felt like they were their friends, and it felt like they had a level of connection to them which they'd never shared with a celebrity or someone famous before. And I think that's what made the fan bases so intense and made people so like obsessed, even though maybe more people knew who some of the other celebrities were at that day that you're talking about. It was like the excitement of seeing Jim was because
that's interesting.
People had this like relationship with him, parasocial relationship.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Who would you say was the most talented member of the Brit Crew? If you had to pick one, who would you say?
Joe Sugg, I think.
Would you?
Most talented, yeah. So Joe can sing, he can dance. Obviously, you saw him on Strictly. He can act. Yeah. He's got an incredible range of impressions. He's got a really good ear, which I guess leads to him being able to sing and do his impressions. I watched him in Waitress, the musical, a few years ago, and you know, you're going as you're going to the musical where your friend's a YouTuber and he's performing in it, and you're thinking, oh God, have they just put him in as the YouTuber, and like, what's this going to be like?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And he really shone. I'd say he was like the highlights of the whole musical, completely slotted in and like owned it.
Yeah.
And that was really impressive to see because there's no hiding on a stage in the West End.
I like the fact you answered that. I thought you were going to sit on the fence and go, they're all talented in their own right. But you went straight in.
No, some of them are really not talented.
Went straight in with the other. Who? Like who?
Me.
No, don't be silly. You put yourself down a lot, don't you? I've noticed that. You don't speak highly enough of yourself.
Thanks.
You don't. You're a very talented man. You recently made the documentary as well, What Happened to the Brit Crew.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind that? Was there a calling from people who were fans of that era to say, well, what happened? What has happened? Were you getting pressure to do that, or is that something that you wanted to do because you were effectively part of it?
So we wanted to follow this theme of documentaries on the YouTube channel, which we're doing now, which are like untold stories of the online world.
Yeah.
And that sort of fits in with the Lily Phillips documentary we did, and then the Brit Crew one as well. It just felt like it was time to look back and, you know, look at how this industry started now that it's sort of 10 years later, who the people were who pioneered it and where they've got to now. I think nostalgia has become a really big thing for people. That was probably our first reason for going down that that route with that documentary is everyone is like reminiscing of a time before, because I think the world is pretty ominous at the moment and overwhelming. And I think people really enjoy reminiscing. So that was like our first sort of thought around doing it. And at first it was actually just going to be about Marcus Butler. Because he had moved to Berlin and no one had heard from him in a while, and he was living this whole different life. And then we filmed with him and we were like, oh, that's pretty good, but I think there's more here. And that was when we decided to then go speak to as many of them as possible.
It's interesting how they've all gone down very different routes in very different parts of the world, isn't it? Which I found. Do you think any of them have any regrets about how it ended, or how, I mean, they all were big in their own right. I don't want to be disrespectful, but they were huge, how big it could have become. Do you think there were any regrets from any of those members?
Yeah, I'm sure like for some of them, it probably would have helped and, you know, been beneficial for them to stay as a group, and maybe for some of them not. But I think with that kind of thing, you need everyone to be 100% bought into it. But, you know, like things happen and times change. And sometimes you look back and think like, oh, that was so good. But it is so good in hindsight because it was only, you know, a moment, or it was a fleeting thing.
Yeah.
Like not everything can last forever, sadly.
Yeah. Well, not everyone was in the doc. I think Zoella,
Alfie and Zoe.
Alfie wasn't. Why were they, did they not want to be featured?
So I don't exactly know, because they never replied to me, which is...
Okay.
Which...
Is that frustrating for you?
It was more like, I can completely understand why Zoe and Alfie wouldn't want to be in a documentary like about the Brit Crew. They don't need to be.
Yeah.
They're very successful. They've got kids. They've got other things going on. I was confused as to why they just straight up didn't reply to me.
Yeah.
That felt a bit strange, but you know, I think they're probably it's not something that probably occupies too much of their thoughts.
Yeah, so you'd have been happy, you'd have understood why they wouldn't have wanted to be featured, but it was more that you didn't get a reply that was the surprising aspect.
Yeah, it was like, it's not such a big deal. Like you can just reply and say, you know, this isn't like some scandalous documentary. You don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
But you know, they live their life how they like to live their life, and I think they're very specific with what they do and don't do in the media. I also think that they've been burnt a lot of times by the media. And I know like, that's why I thought they'd appreciate the story being told by me, because I'm from their world and I'm a YouTuber. But I do understand their hesitancy to want to do stuff, because like, I think they've had their address leaked by the Daily Mail before. And anytime anyone features or writes about them, it's mainly negative and they get used for clickbait. And, you know, I get all those reasons. I just thought we were probably close enough friends for them to just say like, hey, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, fair enough. How'd you look back on that period of your career, the start of Brit Crew and everything, and bonding with them? Do you still class them all as, obviously Casper you said is your best mate, do you still class them all as friends?
So I wasn't, when I started making videos, it was kind of as Joe and Casper just started moving away from that original Brit Crew group of people. So I made a few videos with them, but honestly, I didn't spend that much time with them. But the time with the Buttercream gang, with the Maynards and Casper and Joe, like it was so much fun. Like I don't think we realized how good we had it. It was just very much like, what should we film today? Where should we go? Us being a group is what people found interesting. So us going on holiday together and filming it, or us playing a game together and filming it, that's what people wanted to see. And you had this like shared sort of ambition to want to do things together because it was work and it was fun, which was really, really great. But also, I think we couldn't have done that forever. And I look back at some of those videos now and I'm just like,
do you?
Yeah, because it was
compared to where you are now, you mean?
Yeah, but I think that's anyone will do that with their career.
Yeah.
And I also didn't really know what I was doing in those early days of YouTube. I was just finding my way. Like I just started making content. So, you know, a lot of mistakes and like a lot of things where I'm like, what? That's not
I think anyone can relate to that, because I look back at early interviews I've done, and I'm not saying I'm the finished article now, but you are a little bit rabbit in your headlights the first time. And you never, I'm always someone that's like, throw me in at the deep end. I want to be given these opportunities, interview these people, I've done comedy sketches, I've done, you know, prank stuff with you, I've done straight interviews, and it's like, you don't want to turn that down. But when you're so young and inexperienced, you aren't really the full package in anything, are you? I think I imagine most people look back on their early videos and think the same?
I think so, yeah.
I think I'd like to think so anyway. But I want to talk about where you are now, because your channel you've pivoted quite a bit with your strategy as well. How big is your team now?
So there's now 7 of us full-time.
Full-time?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll give you like where we're at now. So about 2 years ago, I started a production company, which is called Goon Squad Productions, which is what makes the videos for the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But we also have a branded department. So we create ads as a white label service for other brands. At the time of starting, it was getting to a point in my career where I was falling out of love with the prank stuff. I'd obviously done the Katie Hopkins video and bribing Piers Corbin with Monopoly money and listing my microwave as a restaurant on Deliveroo and tricking Carol Baskin, all these stunts, which I really enjoyed and I'm really proud of doing.
Yeah.
But it was getting to a point where I'd done so much of it. It was like starting to feel a bit like it's hard to continue to punch up because I've done this so much and I've gotten good at it. And it's like, at some point it just becomes a bit like, oh, we get it, man. Like you can pull these things off.
Okay.
And as much as some of the people we pulled stuff on, I'd say deserve it, and I think it was justified, I still just fell out of love with being the person to have to deliver that kind of content, even though it was justified. I just didn't, I didn't want to be calling people anymore or doing those things. It just, I guess as I got older, it was something I was like, I don't want to do that anymore.
So do you look back at, it's interesting, I've never heard you speak about it like that. Do you look back on any of those with regrets then? Or it was just the time to move on effectively?
No, yeah, not regret. I think just the time to move on. When we made the Katie Hopkins video, it was... that
was a massive moment in your career, really, fair to say, because of how viral it went.
Really big. I was 25.
Right, yeah.
And I think it was justified and I think it was a great video and I'm really proud of it. But, I think things change as you get older. And even though I think Katie Hopkins deserves to receive the Campaign to Unify the Nation trophy, I just don't think I want to be the person handing those out anymore, if that makes sense. And it's also why me and Archie, who I used to collaborate with, decided to go separate ways. I think Archie still wants to sort of follow down that path of content creation and I didn't. I also wanted to grow out the production company, which he was less interested in.
Okay.
So still friends and on really good terms, but just decided to go our separate ways.
Creative differences.
Yeah, I guess so. And decided to go our separate ways with the business. And it was at that time I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on the production company. And now I'm going to pivot into doing something that I think I want to do on YouTube, which was documentary making. And as it so happens, the first one we made just happened to be like very, very big because it was such a crazy story.
I'm going to come on to talk about that. I think I want to sort of rewind a little bit into your pranking days. Let's talk about that. You mentioned the Katie Hopkins one because Piers Corbin, Katie Hopkins, Just Stop Oil, you were involved in pranking very high profile, often controversial individuals that went extremely viral. So how challenging were those videos to do and how worried were you going into any of those videos?
They were super challenging to do. They took a lot of work, a lot of preparation, a lot of sort of clenching of stomach to execute. But I think that was also like the exuberance of youth. I think we were prepared and we knew what we were doing and legally we did things responsibly. But when you're younger, I think you're a bit braver and more just like, let's fucking do it. But I guess as I got older and matured, I lost the sort of real appetite to want to do that. And I started asking myself, like, if I'm not, if you're going to be doing that kind of stuff, you have to be 100% passionate about it and dedicated to the fact that you're doing this for a reason and for a good reason. And when it starts becoming something you just do for content, I think that's where you could end up doing a sort of Logan Paul in a Japanese forest, or a mistake that, a lot of YouTubers have made where they feel that pressure to keep uploading content or keep getting crazier and crazier. And I felt like if I didn't get off that treadmill of sort of pranks and takedown videos, that was where I was going to end up, and that's just not what I want to do.
I hear what you're saying, because how do you top it? You do Katie Hopkins, then Piers Corbyn during the COVID situation, and then Just Stop Oil. It's like, where do you go from some of them when there's such high profile names involved? And
you're always looking for the bad things in society and for the world. You're like, who's the next person we can bring down? Who's doing something wrong? And that for me just wasn't leading to like a very happy life for myself, because if you're constantly looking at ways to bring people down, you know, it doesn't make you happy.
That's interesting. I've not heard you talk about it like that, because I mean, we worked together on Michael Richards' player prank.
This was more fun. I don't mind doing those pranks.
I don't know if anyone hasn't seen this, but I was very lucky to co-host a show with Michael Richards. The premise was we pranked a range of really high-profile footballers. Really good production behind it, but effectively, Josh, you were the brains behind the actual pranking. So me and Micah, or one of us, would be in your ear. Paul Merson interview, Jill Scott, whoever it was, you'd pull off the actual prank, and it blew my mind. Because we had the easy bit, really, not the easy bit, but telling you what to do from behind the cameras. If we laughed, it didn't matter, because the person being pranked wouldn't see us. But when you're actually front and center doing the pranking, you cannot break character once. I was amazed at how good you were, but also I was surprised that your answer was how much you loved it as well.
Yeah, well,
at the time, be honest, you loved it.
No, I did, and that, like, look, pranking Paul Merson. That's like fun, and I don't mind doing that at all. It's more, I guess, where I would not enjoy doing things anymore is like the calculated setup of like a real like takedown of someone for them, you know, maybe deserving it. Like I think Katie Hopkins did deserve what we did to her, and she, you know, wants to own free speech, so free speech can be applied back to her. And I think those things are justified. It's just, I don't want to do that anymore. Whereas, you know, pranking Paul Merson was fun, it's a lot more lighthearted.
But I was amazed at how did you learn that skill set? Like, because you're a full-time actor, really. I remember speaking to the production team when we said, we've got Josh Pieters coming in. They went on to explain who I was. I know who Josh is. Yeah. And my biggest fear was that, would they know who you are? Because they'd seen your content. Do you know what I mean? But people were referring to you as an actor, and you are in many ways an actor, because that is a skill to keep a straight face, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
My point is, I didn't realize how good you were until I saw you in action, is my point.
Thank you.
And that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Did you have an acting background for that? I mean,
I did drama at school.
So that's where it comes from. There it is. Yeah.
I mean, literally at school, my two favorite things were sports and drama. So performing and playing sport. And I guess I tried both things.
So pranking a cricketer would be your dream day, wouldn't it?
Yeah, which I've done. I've pranked Josh Butler. So,
fair forward. Wow. What's the worst situation you've been in with one of your pranks? Because you must get nervous doing that. Because the other thing that I noticed from doing it with you is it is a one-take wonder shot. The payoff is a one-take wonder, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't go, oh, can we do that again?
I mean, I don't know if it's lucky or preparation or what, but we've managed to always kind of pull things off quite seamlessly. When we made the Katie Hopkins video, I remember she showed up like 10 minutes early, and I was on a ladder putting a microphone into the roof of this room we were doing the prank in. And you know, you're so paranoid when you're doing it. And she came in and she was like, what are you doing up there? Is how I heard it. But she was probably more just like, oh, what are you doing up there?
Yes.
But anyway, I just sort of responded, just being like, oh, what are you doing down there? And it was all fine. And the night sort of carried on. But you're just constantly so anxious and you think you're being caught out, but never ended up in too bad of a situation, luckily.
Fair enough. And of course, the biggest prank you've ever done was the fake Ed Sheeran. That is, to this day, the most viewed video on your channel, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the premise is, for those that haven't watched it, I think most people watching this would have seen it, but the premise was Jake Paul versus KSI.
Other Paul.
Sorry, Logan Paul v KSI. I should know that because I was working on the fight. I was lucky enough to be there. I was actually hosting the main event for Sky, which is amazing. Logan Paul KSI 2, Staples Center, LA. So I was actually oblivious to this at the time because I was in the stadium, obviously working.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing spectacle. And the one thing that was true was there were a lot of celebs like Justin Bieber, amongst others, all of the Sidemen, of course. It was a real celeb haunt, wasn't it?
Wiz Khalifa.
Loads of people
Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah. So the premise of your video is you faked an Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
There. How did you pull that off?
So there's this man from Manchester named Ty Jones. And the great thing about Ty Jones is that he looks
like Ed Sheeran.
A lot like Ed Sheeran. Yeah.
Which helps for the video, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty important. And so we had this idea, didn't really know if it was going to work. Flew him from Manchester to LA. I met him in LA. Like, I only met him for the first time at the airport, but the moment I saw him...
In LA, you met him?
Yeah. Well, I contacted him and organized for him
But that's a risk, though, because obviously, I know that you spoke to his agent and you spoke to him. They're obviously going to say, yeah, he's a great Ed Sheeran lookalike. You can see in pictures. But that's a big risk not meeting him until you're in LA.
I know.
Because he could have been 4 foot or something.
I know. We took a bit of a risk, but he showed up and literally as he came out of like the airport, people were asking him for photos.
Unreal.
And so you knew it was likely going to work. He did have a thick Mancunian accent though, but it's in America. So they don't know the difference between a West Country accent and a Manchester accent. So they just assumed that was, Ed Sheeran's accent. And it was definitely, of all the videos I've made, that was probably the funnest, like the funnest filming experience I've ever had. We get to the fight straight away on the red carpet. Cameras are flashing. People are screaming.
Incredible.
We walk into the Staples Center. Everyone's asking him for a photo. We go into the VIP section where all the YouTubers and celebrities are. He's being interviewed, asked for photos.
He would have been, I'm not disrespecting anyone else there, but maybe Justin Bieber. He would have been the biggest celebrity there, wouldn't he?
And it was so interesting.
If it was Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, it was so interesting also seeing like that power of fame in a room of other famous people.
Right.
At those kind of events, well, for me at least, you sometimes feel a bit like I know 1 or 2 people and you're kind of on a table having a beer and you don't want to like be annoying. And so we were doing that, me, Casper and Ed Sheeran, Ty Jones, and you could just see and feel the gravity of the room move to wherever we were because everyone's keeping their cool. They don't want to be like, hey, Ed Sheeran. But the energy, everyone's body language, everything was just focused around this guy from Manchester who was just like, he kept saying things. He's like, I can do parkour. Shall I do a backflip quickly? I was like, no, just
that'll blow the cover. Please don't do that.
Don't do that. We go to the fight. We had like 4th row tickets, but it was causing such a stir in the stadium. Everyone was asking him for photos. It was going nuts that I think Eddie Hearn asked the event organizers to move us to ringside. They were like, what's Ed Sheeran doing in the 4th row? They move us to ringside. We're sitting where like Dan Bilzerian and Justin Bieber and all these people are meant to be sitting. And then I heard a conversation between Joe Markowski, who was the CEO of DAZN at the time, and Eddie Hearn, where Joe Markowski was saying, Eddie, I don't think that's Ed Sheeran. And he was saying, no, it definitely is. Look at him.
Eddie was saying it definitely is.
Yeah, Eddie was saying it's definitely him. And Joe Markowski was like, well, I've got a friend who's currently in Hong Kong with Ed Sheeran. And Eddie Hearn was like, you better be sure, because if I tell the real Ed Sheeran to move, I'm going to be fucked.
Wow.
And he was like, no, it's definitely not him. So they came over and they were actually like, guys, we love what you're doing, but the real Justin Bieber's about to show up. Do you mind going back to your seats? So we did that. Fight ended. KSI won. Yeah. And we then went to One Oak afterwards in LA, which is this exclusive Hollywood nightclub. And they gave us a table alongside KSI's table, who was there. At this point, all the British YouTubers knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And the club kept playing Ed Sheeran songs. They brought out like bottles and
I was
like
in that club that night.
Were you there?
Yeah.
He was like standing on the thing, mouthing along to his own songs. It was unbelievable. Yeah,
wow.
really fun.
I love that Eddie Hearn story.
Yeah, insane.
So they're basically saying he can stay if it is him, but can you find out if he's actually in Hong Kong?
Yeah.
I suppose Eddie's thinking, if that is actually Ed Hearn, Ed Sheeran, I can't kick him back to
well, he didn't want to like ask the real Ed Sheeran to leave. Yeah.
How much did that video cost you?
It was a lot. I think it was like $12,000 pound. Something like 10 to. Can't remember if it was dollars or pounds because it was all stuff in America. I think it was like $12,000. So
what's the most amount you spent on a video, if you don't mind me asking? Because you've done some pretty high end.
Yeah, I guess it's different now because like with the documentaries, we're spending months on something, but now it's like we're using a full-time employed team. So I suppose like if you added up all the hours, the documentaries now are quite. There's a lot that goes into them. But back then, I think like on a flat out, just once-off video, it was probably that. I think that probably would have been the most expensive.
And going back to the scene, because I've seen the vid again last night, there's a scene where all the influencers are in the backstage area, which I didn't see actually because we were front during the fight. he then starts talking to someone. What was the riskiest moment for you when you thought his cover's being blown? Because there's a point in the video where I think you say something like, just don't speak.
Yeah, exactly. Because like the accent will give it away. So the British YouTubers, like the guys I know, like Harry Rotashaw and Kel Freezy and them, I told them what was happening. So they like egged it along in that room, but that made the Americans fall for it like 10 times harder.
Point.
So it was honestly pretty good in that room. Like you saw Keemstar and Tana Mojo and who was the other? Summer Rae and all these like massive Americans, literally like hook, line and sinker.
Amazing.
They loved it.
What were your thoughts on the spectacle? Because you had to be there at the time to explain it to people, didn't you? Like how big Paul v KSI was. What were your thoughts on the spectacle?
It was so much fun. Yeah, Americans do things different, don't they? Like even look at the Ryder Cup now. They're just so Americans do things big. So it was really entertaining and also just like hilarious because it just had this guy everyone thought was Ed Sheeran with us.
Yeah. How big do you think the YouTube boxing scene can become? I mean, have you ever thought about, you're obviously a former elite athlete, YouTuber. Have you ever thought about stepping in the ring?
I did think about it for a moment once in like 2018. But then it's just like, I've done it. So I did a charity boxing match actually in 2018, but it wasn't really filmed or anything. It was just literally a charity boxing fight. And I did enjoy the training and I got really fit and strong and that was cool. But like, I don't know if like boxing's for me. It's pretty hectic.
It's not for me. Who would you fight?
Who would I fight?
What would be the sell?
I don't, at the time, it was going to be Jackmate because we had this like rivalry when we were younger, but we don't anymore. So that was going to be the fight and we were like talking about doing it on social media and everything, but I don't think either of us actually maybe wanted to do it that badly and it never came to fruition. I don't think I'd do it now, no.
Fair enough.
But like I have a lot of respect for the guys who do it.
It's amazing what like KSI's built there. I mean, not just down to him, but he deserves a huge amount of credit for taking it to that level. Do you think a big part of where the boxing YouTube scene is solely because of him?
Yeah, I think so. And Theo Baker and Joe Weller. Yeah. Because they did it first on, was it Theo's channel? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was first fight, wasn't it? And then KSI fought the winner. So do you think if that had never happened, we wouldn't be here now?
Probably
and you wouldn't be there with Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, probably not. I think that did lead to all of that. But I feel like the boxing's maybe died down a bit now. I don't know. It's now, I don't even know what's happening with it anymore. It's like Jake Paul's now fighting Anthony Joshua, apparently.
I mean, there'd be a lot of eyes on that if it happened.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You can't not watch.
Yeah. Do you think Eddie Hearn would be for that?
I think I saw an interview where he was like, I've told him he's going to get his head knocked clean off, but like he's up for it. I think
the views on that would be insane,
I think he sees the business opportunity of it.
Finishing the Ed Sheeran story, did you get an insight into how Ed Sheeran would be on a night like? Can you imagine a night out with Ed Sheeran? He would just get mobbed wherever he went then?
Yeah,
was it just insane to see?
Yeah, it's that level of fame where you just kind of assume that everyone knows who you are because kind of everyone does. Yeah.
You then pivoted. We talked about this to documentaries. So you've gone into a little bit of detail into why that is. Is that pranking done for you then? Do you think is this what the future for Josh Pieters is? Documentary making?
Yeah, I think so. Look, I mean, like on my Instagram and like I would happily appear in like fun, harmless prank shows like the one that we did. Yeah. But I think in terms of the more elaborate setup, political satire type pranks for the moment, I'll leave that to Sacha Baron Cohen and people like that.
Fair enough. You obviously did the Lily Phillips documentary, which I think everyone's seen. What was the mindset for doing that? Because obviously there's a lot that's been said about Lily. There was a big story going into it. You've done the documentary about what happened. So what was the reason for that, would you say?
Yeah, so the theme we wanted to take with the documentaries on the channel were like untold stories of the online world.
Right.
And I saw this tweet advertising that she was going to be doing this. And so we reached out to ask if this was real. Like, is this actually something you're going to be doing? And she said it was. And we said, would you mind if we made an observational documentary about it? And I think the important part of that documentary, or the important reason for making it, was there'd been a lot of these girls, specifically Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue, talking on social media about the fact that they sleep with loads of guys and it's really fun and it's a great way to make money and they're so happy doing it and like all's lovely. And I just think someone needed to actually tell the real story there of what was going on. Like they'd go on people's podcasts and it would kind of be the sort of guys who have, you know, portraits of Andrew Tate on their wall who would be asking them questions being like, but aren't you like a then? And they'd be like, yeah, I am, but like, I love it. And they'd be like, oh, it's gross. And there was no like depth or substance or any kind of like, why are you doing this? And like, what makes you want to do this? And I felt like that was a really important thing to do because
to give context, you mean?
Yeah, because this thing is here and it's happening and everyone's aware of it and everyone knows who Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips are. And I think it was important for someone to actually go like, hey, Lily, like, who are you? And show, yes, there is a glamorous side to what she does and she makes loads of money and it gives her the freedom to do what she wants in her career. But there's clearly also a side of it that's difficult. And I think that is shown in our documentary where she's sort of quite upset by the end of filming it. So I think showing like the I guess nuance to what she's doing and the truth to it was something we thought was quite important because otherwise young impressionable people might see what they do and think, oh, like that's not so bad or, you know, oh, that's terrible. But I think our film shows both sides of it and shows the truth. And I hope we, you know, approached it by treating her just like a regular human being who's making legal choices and making a successful career for herself.
That's interesting. How long was the process from ideation to execution? Like how long was, obviously I know you filmed, I know how long the challenge was, everyone knows that, but in terms of you filmed a lot pre, post, how long was that process?
So, I mean, from having the idea, we started filming a few weeks later. I think we started filming in early September and then the stunt itself was on like the 17th of October or 19th, something like that. And we managed to get it out in early December. So yeah, it's 3 or 4 months.
There's a really powerful scene at the end where she is crying to you on camera. What did you take from that? Do you think she regretted doing it?
I mean, that's the thing everyone asks me. I don't know. It's like you have to ask her. We leave it open-ended in the documentary. It's sort of hard to tell, you know, like, is this just someone who's really overwhelmed with this sort of crazy day of having like achieved a massive goal of hers? And obviously it was like physically tiring and she's sort of crying at the end of it because it's just such a, you know, busy day. Or was this someone who is completely broken after going through something really traumatic? And I wasn't there to make that judgment or to say which of those things it was. I was there to, I guess, try and tell as honest a story as possible and allow an audience to decide for themselves. So, you know, I don't know, but she was definitely very sad in that moment. And it was a difficult thing to see.
Yeah. Is there anything that we might not know as viewers that we didn't see in that documentary that happened maybe off camera or that you weren't allowed to show behind the scenes?
No, I mean, she was very, you know, open with us and like kindly let us into her world and show quite a lot. So I think it's mostly in there. Like the ending is honestly pretty much as it was. Like it's not really edited down very much.
You kept that as it was raw. There wasn't a longer version of that.
It's obviously, it is edited, but as in like there's not much that was cut out. There's just, you know, it's sped up a bit, but like it was pretty much as it happened, that ending.
Wow. What were your thoughts on her? Obviously spent a lot of time with her. What are your honest thoughts on her?
I really like her, which is like a weird thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily agree with what she's doing, or like I don't think it's great, and I think it's problematic for her, and I think it's potentially problematic for other people. But as a person, she's really personable. She's really sweet. She's smart and nice. And yeah, I enjoyed chatting with her, and it was sad to you know, see her really upset at the end of it all. But yeah, it's hard to also sometimes remember, like, you know, she'll be talking to you and it's just like a normal conversation. And then she's like, yeah, and then later I'm getting like 4 back. It's like, what? Wow. You know, it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But to her, that's just her job and her career. So I'm still like a bit like, I don't know, but yeah, as a person, I think she's great.
Yeah, so you like her as a person, got on with her, liked spending time with her, but didn't agree with what she was doing, which I think a lot of people would say they don't agree with the premise of what she's doing. But it's interesting how you wanted to look at that to tell an honest story and give people the chance to make their mind up.
And I think honestly, all I wish for her and hope for is that her eyes are open to what she's doing. Like, I think everyone should be able to choose what they want to do and make their own choices. Mm-hmm. She's not doing anything illegal. I just hope that she's not going to look back in 5 years and regret what she's done. Like, I hope she's doing what she's doing with her eyes open. And I'm not so sure she is.
Interesting. Do you still keep in touch with her now?
No. So I never really kept in touch with her during the documentary. Our producer, Lizzie, was the sort of point of contact.
Right.
And then we had an aftercare plan in place as well, just in case she needed it or anyone on her team needed it. So after we showed them the documentary before it went out and they were happy with it. And then afterwards, we put them in touch with whether they would need a therapist or if there was anything, if they wanted to chat to us about anything. Obviously, that documentary picked up quite crazily.
Yeah.
And so we just wanted to make sure that she was cared for and looked after, but she was fine. And Lizzie, our producer, kept in touch with her a bit afterwards. And since then kind of faded out of
Do you know if she took up the therapy option?
I don't know.
You don't know? Wow.
I don't think so.
Would you ever do a follow-up documentary?
I think that story is probably told I want to keep going into new areas, I guess. I just don't know what more there is to tell there.
Yeah, I hear that.
And now Stacey Dooley's done one and Channel 4 did one.
Yeah.
And
you think it's done?
Well, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's sort of recap then in terms of your career. Is there a favourite? I'll let you have a drink of water while I ask this question slowly. Is there a favourite video, favourite moment of your career? Because we've spoken about how you've pivoted, you've done pranks, you've gone from playing cricket to YouTube to Brit Crew to pranks to documentaries. You've now got a production company. Is there one moment you look back on with the most pride?
With the most pride, I think what we're doing now with our production company, and I guess how we put that Lily Phillips documentary together and just all the work we're doing now, it for me is super rewarding to see this group of people that have come together in Goon Squad Productions, which is our company, and just seeing them all work together alongside myself and seeing a team click and enjoy what they're doing and produce really great stuff is for me the most rewarding and satisfying thing. And I think that's what I like teams and I like having a team, and it's probably from loving sport as well.
I love that.
Yeah. So I think just seeing these really talented people combine well together is super satisfying.
And what you can achieve together, right? That must be quite exciting.
And just seeing how, when you get it right and people click, you can obviously achieve just so much more than just on your own.
Best video though, if I had to pick one video that you've done, best video.
Best video. Oh, it's so hard because it changes.
There's so many.
It changes over time. I think, most fun was the Ed Sheeran one. That was the most fun I've ever had.
I can see that being fun. I know what you're saying because there's less risk attached to that, right?
And then we'll leave the documentaries out of this, I guess, because they're kind of different.
Yeah.
But I think the best video maybe is the Katie Hopkins one. That it just, I think it's a good video.
And is there any worst videos or ones that you've done where maybe in your early career you look back on and go, God, that didn't work at all?
Oh yeah, so many of them. I mean,
Sorry, I didn't mean to open a can of worms there.
Honestly, heaps. I've privated a lot of them now, but
clever.
Yeah, it's just absolute garbage in the early days. But I think that was part of learning and becoming a YouTuber.
Do you think, are you still in love with YouTube or have you fallen out of love a bit? What I'm trying to work out from this is your reasonings for not doing pranks and documentaries are completely understandable. Do you think you've still got the same love for YouTube that you had back in the early days?
Yeah, I think so. Still have the love for making videos. It's definitely now just a career, so it can feel like work. But when we get into something and we're making a documentary now, I do really enjoy that. Yeah. So I guess it's changed for me over the years. But yeah, I think YouTube's the greatest platform. And I think it's only going to get better. It's becoming more and more popular now. People are using YouTube as what they watch on their TV.
Yeah.
and you've got like TikTok and Instagram and shorts and stuff for your phone. But I feel like now TV is YouTube.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
For a lot of people. Like I think in our documentaries, we're getting like, I want to say like 35% or 32% or something of the views are through televisions.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy. And people are like, don't you want to do stuff on TV? And it's like, well, we kind of are. What is the, what is the difference?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is something I'm still trying to.
There's been a culture shift with that, hasn't there?
Yeah.
Definitely, I think, a massive culture shift. And it's interesting that a lot of YouTubers say that. It's like, well, actually, you are appealing to, if you've got a channel like yours, the audience that you reach is huge anyway, and people can consume that on any device. And loads of people now. I was chatting to someone this morning about that. Another YouTuber actually was saying such a big percentage of their long form content is coming through TV.
Yeah.
Through people consuming YouTube on TV.
Yeah, and it's so big and there's so much to choose from. Yeah, it's crazy. It's very competitive as well. Like,
Is your strategy quite challenging, because you're not a YouTuber that does a video every week that you can churn out, that's quite like, it's very high production. There's a lot of ideology. There's a lot of travel involved, which is why, and this is the biggest compliment I can pay to you, your videos are so highly executed and so watched. Like, I don't know your analytics, but I imagine your average watch time on your channel is very high, because you do make them very watchable, that you want to effectively see the payoff to the video. But does that bring with it a layer of stress that every time you upload it, it's sort of got to be right, because the amount of time, effort and money, I'm guessing, that you spend on each video?
Yeah, definitely. I think now making longer videos in the form of documentaries means that like it kind of, they can grow a bit slower, I think. And so far it's been good. But also I think having the production company, and with YouTube now not being the sole sort of source of income for the company, it takes the pressure off a lot, because it's like if a video doesn't perform, it's like, oh, that sucks, but doesn't sort of mean that it impacts the company financially too badly, because we've got the branded content stuff going on. But yeah, you always want something to do well. So that's always a worry when you put something.
Do you think you'll ever go into like directing, film making? Because you are effectively making films. But it was interesting what you were saying. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but we were playing about the cameras before, and you were saying, oh, my knowledge on cameras isn't amazing, which I don't agree with, looking at your content, because it looks like you have an understanding of all aspects of it.
That's because you haven't met a lovely man called Thomas Willows. Really? Yeah, who, no, honestly, my camera work and sort of understanding of cameras is really, really limited. But he's our in-house director, Tom, who is sort of in charge of how everything looks in everything we make. He is very talented. Wow. So
he'll like the shout out then.
Yeah. Well, I think he'd break his computer screen if he saw me taking credit for how our documentaries look.
I just wonder whether you turn it like a Scorsese directing multi-camera YouTube productions.
No, I can't. I mean, we can. Okay, yeah, I'm going to be a Scorsese.
Who do you think is the GOAT of YouTube? I'm intrigued to get your thoughts as someone who's very highly rated in the scene. Who do you think is the most talented YouTuber out there?
Okay. And like, for me personally, and I know some of the content is a bit like potentially problematic maybe, and he's had his problems, but like David Dobrik for me is just someone that like, he knows how to make the most entertaining content. And I still watch all of his videos. In terms of just like, it's unbelievable. Like the level of entertainment that guy pours into a 5-minute YouTube video for me is just insane. I think they're so entertaining and really fun to watch. Nico's obviously really, really, really great and amazing. Yeah. I love Max and Max's videos. Zach.
Max Fush.
Yeah. Zach Alsop is also great. Like there's a lot of just really, really talented YouTubers out there. But yeah, for me, David Dobrik's videos are just like very, very fun to watch. I think he's really good.
Okay, you go with him. And what does the next 5 years look like? Where would you like to see yourself in 5 years? Or is there anything you can reveal what your next documentary is going to be?
So we're actually working on a documentary that's not for our YouTube channel. It's for Lad Bible.
Right.
So that's coming out in a month or so, but you'll see.
Yeah. You can't reveal any more than that.
No. And then we're looking at like, we haven't got the next documentary nailed yet. There's like a few, this is the other hard part of it, is like reaching out to people and getting people wanting to do it. And so there's like a few different ones we're chasing after. But honestly, from like it's really busy from a production side of things, which is great. And like the business is doing well, but it is a real big struggle for us to kind of balance making YouTube stuff. But, you know, when there's commercial work coming in, like we can't say no to doing an advert or something because that's money in for the business. Yeah. So then the YouTube sometimes can take a back seat because that is like investment and the money comes later.
I hear you. So
ideally, I'd want to grow our team big enough to be able to handle both the commercial side of things and the YouTube side of things. And that is the goal with what we're doing with the production company. So, you know, just got to keep going and keep trying to grow it.
It's amazing how you've strategized that. Do you think it's quite difficult for young people getting into YouTube now? Because the production level is so high. What they're competing with now.
Yeah, but I don't even think insane. That is what holds you. I just think like you can still, I think if you've got an iPhone or a phone and a microphone, like you can do it and you can make it work. You look at people like Italian Batch and these guys, like they're just using a phone and they're really funny. Or like Jack Joseph, I think is so funny as well. They are, you know, it's not the equipment. They're just really good. But I do think it's like so saturated now. When I started YouTube, like the competition was nothing. Now it's like, it's really, really, really difficult.
Yeah. You're a busy man, Josh. And also you've been best man recently at Casper's wedding. How was that?
That was amazing. Honestly, one of the best days of my life.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it was super fun in South Africa, like because he's my best friend. Obviously, all of my family were there, like a load of mutual friends. You know, I knew like 95% of the people at the wedding that had none of the pressure of it being my wedding.
Yeah, wicked. So how was the best man? I imagine you nailed the best man speech.
Look, you say I talk down about myself a lot. I'm going to talk up about myself. Yeah, Smithy. I heard whispers at the wedding that it was the best man speech anyone's ever heard. Now, I imagine that's said at a lot of weddings.
Do you know what? This is not bigging myself up. Last week, I was best man at my best mate's wedding. And I did a video montage, had some celebs and people at the end sending messages. Yeah. And someone said to me that was, we sound so awful now, don't we? It was the best man speech they'd heard. It makes me think maybe.
Everyone said, of course.
This just is what people have said whenever you do a best man speech.
100%.
Let us know if you've done a best man speech in the comments. Is this just what everyone says?
They definitely
so you flopped.
Say that. Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm guessing you pulled something out the bag.
It was great. It was.
Did you hammer him a lot or was it respectful?
No, I think I was like a good balance of, you know, teasing with love and, you know, it's got to be like you got to take people on a bit of a roller coaster of emotions. I have a real ick over like, I think it's like a British man thing to do where guys get up at their best friend's wedding and just bring out the most horrific stories and just like it turns into like a roast and everyone's uncomfortable.
I've been at a few weddings like that.
I've been at quite a few and I'm just like, it's not like, you don't have to do that. It's not that funny. Like it's not that funny.
I know what you mean.
And it's not that it offends me. It's just like,
I know what you mean.
I would never want my best man to do that or vice versa.
When it happens,
yeah.
Mate, it's been amazing having you on. We've covered so much. And having worked with you, I've just got nothing but positivity to say about what you've achieved.
You.
Honestly, you're a very talented guy. I just wondered finally, we always ask this, what advice you have for people that might want to be the next Josh Pieters? What would you say to the thousands of people watching this, hopefully?
I think, what advice would I give? I think you got to do something that you enjoy, if that's YouTube or something else. And whatever the content you do is, like, make it something you can enjoy. I think YouTube's so competitive now. Like you can't just be like, I want to be a famous YouTuber anymore, because I just don't think it's possible to just say that and have it happen. I think you have to really enjoy what you do, and it might turn into a career, but just do it anyway. Like, even if it's not a career for now, just take an hour each day to film yourself with your phone or whatever it is you want to do, and see where you can go with it, and commit to it. And just also, if it doesn't happen and it doesn't work out, loads of things don't happen in life. And then one day you get older and you go, that never happened.
Yeah.
And it's actually fine. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's like anything could. Have you seen the world at the moment? Honestly, who knows? We might. This podcast might never go out.
Well, let's not be too negative. Hopefully, it will go out. People want to hear your story, Josh, don't they?
Before this,
let's not end it on that note. End it on a positive note about being the next Josh Pieters.
No, do that.
But I know what you're saying. Don't take life too seriously.
And if you don't,
and if it doesn't matter,
most of the YouTubers I know, it's not. your happiness doesn't come, I don't think, from achieving these things or being a big YouTuber or making a massive success of yourself. I think when you start like looking again for, enjoying the simple things in life, sort of happiness from within, speak to your friends, your family, whoever you can, and just, enjoy the small things in life, because they're the best things.
I like that. Enjoy the simple things in life. The most important. I like that. I think it's the perfect note to end it. Josh, you're an absolute ledge. Thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure, mate.